Wait, what? Hold on. We have Alabama news. And so instead of having Daniel and I bicker back and forth with each other about how great this is, I just thought, what if we brought an Alabama guy on and just got his feels? So if you understand what I'm saying, I'm asking Chris Marler to tell me his feels on Alabama. So just get ready for an hour-long show next on Locked On Bulldogs.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Bulldogs, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Make every moment more. This, if you don't know, which you should know, if you've been on our feed over on X at any point, you understand who Chris Marler is. He's at Burn Funquist, and Chris is a longtime Alabama fan. Chris, how you doing tonight, brother?
You know, things are good. Things are good. No, it's been a wild week. I think I tweeted out in between the last show that I was on, which was you were kind enough to join us on, that I just haven't woke up feeling the cheesiest in days. So it has been a rough week for Bama fans, but I will also say I don't think the sky is completely falling. But yeah, it's been fun for sure.
Fun indeed. We're going to talk about Alabama, what it means for Georgia, a potential transfer. We've been holding off recording until transfer portal calmed down. It turns out it's never going to calm down. There's news still out that it's going to keep on churning. So we decided, hey, forget it. We'll get into this. So today is just talking about the SEC, news of Nick Saban, the fallout from that, kind of the rivalry or the battle back and forth in recruiting, as well as coaching, as well as barbs against Georgia and Alabama. And so, Chris, let me start there, because I think a lot of Georgia fans are having some fun right now at DeBoer's hiring, especially the DC co-defensive coordinator, after a lot of Alabama fans made fun of Robinson for his co-defensive coordinator title, all that. So I just want to get your assessment right now. How are you feeling about the hires as you sit here today, so far that we know? Give us your thoughts and assessment on that.
So I think DeBoer has been a great hire. I said from the beginning that Lanning would have been my first choice. I would stand by that. Here's one thing that's been fun. None of us know who was offered that job. I will bet you anything that Lane Kiffin obviously was not, for a lot of reasons why. And I think that it was probably Lanning, Sark, and DeBoer were the top three. If you had to ask me, if you don't get Lanning, which again, no one knows if they offered him or not. But if you don't get Lanning and you get the guy that beat him 3 times in 3 games in the last few years, love that. I love that. I think the offensive hire, it's funny because, Grubb is the guy I wanted last year. He stayed in Washington, which I think was a smarter move. And we'll get to this in a second, but it's a smarter move for him, much like the T-Rob move to Georgia was a smarter move for him. And I have no problem saying that. Offensively, I love all of it. And you and I, or you and Daniel, or me and Daniel have gone back and forth on the offensive line thing with, they won the Joe Moore Award last year, and whether or not that they were deserving of that or what, I have zero doubts that the offensive line was better at Washington than it was at Bama, because Bama was one of the worst in the entire country. So I think all that's fair. Defensively, would have loved to keep T-Rob. Because I think that from a recruiting standpoint, that is a massive leg up that for this staff they could have had. The thing about T-Rob is that, like, if you're looking to advance yourself, and Kevin Steele said about him before he retired, which is Robinson's going to be a head coach at some point, and it'll be in the near future, and he'll be a very good head coach. If you're looking to do that, there's no reason to chance or compromise any of your potential, like, money or earnings or like opportunities as a coach by staying on in a unknown situation with Bama's new coaching staff, and like in an unknown new era, and who's going to stay and who's going to go, all that kind of stuff on that defense. You go to what I keep referring to as a joke as the best group project I've ever seen, which is the Georgia defense under Kirby Smart, with Glenn Schumann, with Will Muschamp. That's perfect. And then you align yourself with all of this talent that's already over there. Hell yeah, man. Like do that and set yourself up with an incredible potential job opportunity. much like Dan Lanning did.
That's exactly right. I think we've been on the podcast and we're saying DeBoer is a good hire. He's a good coach. You can talk about pedigree and what he came from. I don't give a ton of stuff to that because honestly, if you look at some of the other guys that have the resume builders, Mario Cristobal should be a good college football coach, and he's not. He's just not.
Jeremy Pruitt.
Jeremy Pruitt is not a good football coach. Ryan Day, not a good football coach. Now we can talk about he came from. He's not. Come on, don't do this to me.
I think he's pretty good. So he's had 7 total losses, and 4 of them have been national champions, and 3 of them have been to the playoffs, or like vice versa.
Okay, well, we'll digress on that point. But if you look at some other coaches, this is not a bad hire. Like, this is not a horrible hire. I don't know if it's going to work out long run. I have no idea, and no one does because, again, you're coming off the greatest of all time, to DeBoer's. But the thing that's interesting to me, and this is where you talk about defensive side, you talk about North Alabama kid coming in to coach defense now, as well as Buffalo coach coming in and to coach defense. Clearly, DeBoer is bringing over his offensive system, which, again, is a good offensive system. Like, you Lane and Sark are the 2 best play callers, but talk about a system-wise, DeBoer has it. The defensive side, this guy, the guy's coming in. Is it a miss? Do you feel good about the defensive coaching staff? Missing T-Rob is clearly one thing, but the guys they're bringing in, just from a pure coaching standpoint, not recruiting standpoint, what are you feeling about that?
So I hate the way that he pronounces his name, Womack. This does not. Don't love that. It's very weird. From a defensive standpoint, it seems like it's been a really good hire from anybody that knows anything about coaching. And I don't know anything about South Alabama football at all. I think they had a 10-win season either this year or a couple years ago. I don't know. They have been a good program, I think, under him. I would assume. I don't know. It's not like the Buffalo coach. I know that, who went 3-9 this year. But from a defensive standpoint, they ranked top 30 in every single major statistical category. They ranked top 20 in 2 of them, including total defense. And the total defense was ranked 50th in the country, 2 spots ahead of Alabama. Whatever you want to say to make the argument against Alabama, because that's really what's happening right now, which is like everyone's enjoying this downfall. And I fully understand why. I fully get it. And you should be enjoying it. I'm not going to say that on Twitter, but you should be enjoying it. That's fine. The other part of it, though, is that like how much of it is realistic because we don't know what's going to happen. And if you're telling me that there were questions last year on that defense, Kevin Steele, the hire from Kevin Steele was chastised by everyone, including me. I think this is a good, like the fact that he's been able to go out and get 2 head coaches away from their jobs to be assistants, I think says a decent amount about what DeBoer's been able to do early. Again, I think T-Rob would have made me feel a lot better, but I also. I think it's like statistically speaking from this year, I mean, the results that he came out with from South Alabama were really good.
That's right. I think it's more of a personnel change of talent than it is going to be coaching change. Is going to be the issue there. Right. We'll see how that plays out. We're going to come back and ask Chris some more questions about Alabama, what it means for Georgia. But first, these. These are, in fact, eBay Motors. ebaymotors.com. The right parts, the right fit, the right price. eBay guarantee fit only available for U.S. customers. That means if you take your 95 Civic, which I don't know what Chris's first car was, but that was a fantastic first car, or a Accord, or a Astrovan, whatever you're driving, eBay Motors is where you need to go right now. You put in your make, your model, your year into the garage, and it has an eBay guarantee. A little check mark comes across every single time you're perusing, whether it's for performance, mechanical, exterior, interior, whatever you need for the right part for your car. That's eBay Motors right now. Daniel and I use them all the time. We've had many things road trip fail us, but eBay Motors is there. And right now, this eBay guarantee fit is only available for U.S. customers. So get over there right now, put your make, model, year into it, and you can guarantee that every single part you peruse and shop for will be the right part, the right fit, the right price. ebaymotors.com. On top of that, we have LinkedIn jobs, linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. I don't know how many times Chris has changed jobs in the last 10 years, but this is just the reality of the economy. You change jobs. You need new people on your team. You need to go hire and fire. people. You need to get recruiting to understand who the right people are, the right fit for your job. That's where LinkedIn Jobs comes into play. LinkedIn.com/LockedOnCollege. Right now, you can post your job for free. So whatever it is, if you need somebody to come onto your team, LinkedIn Jobs can get you that team member. Or if you need to trade teams and you need to go somewhere else, they can find you that person as well, or that team as well. LinkedIn.com/LockedOnCollege. Post your job for free. Don't have to worry about ridiculous filter interview questions. Get right into the business of it, because they will take care of connections to get you the right person. LinkedIn.com/LockedOnCollege. Post your job for free. All right, Chris, we talked about the coaching changes. We talked about maybe some hinting at some other things to come down the pipeline. But right now, there is an infusion in the transfer portal. And this is crazy. I mean, honestly, this is bananas. I will say definitively, a lot of people are just hating on Alabama fan for saying, oh, the portal's rigged. We need to change it. We need to bring yada, yada, yada. When benefit was coming into Alabama, it's not so easy the other way when traffic flows the opposite. So I'll just say what everybody's saying. Georgia might be getting an influx of talent. So we might be beneficiaries of the transfer portal. And yet I don't like it because it's so screwy. It's so wonky. There's no uniformity. People don't know how. It's like the tax code. Like, you need somebody that is abjectly just neck deep in tax code to figure this out. It's insane. That shouldn't be this way.
Yeah.
But Chris, I just have to ask, there's a lot of players in the transfer portal. We don't know long-term. Again, Georgia fan, DeBoer's a good coach. So we don't know 3 years from now, they're going to be happy or whatnot, 2 years or this year. But with all the influx of talent loss on this roster, who hurts the most that's been in the portal so far to you? You can list a couple of them. Who hurts the most?
You can list a couple of them. One, I love that you brought up the tax thing, and that's why I think the best advice I could give to anybody listening out there is just don't pay your taxes, for one. Two,
that is not official Locked On, by the way.
Yeah, you said Georgia might be benefiting from it. That is nice to say. They are definitely benefiting, as is everyone. I think. Yeah, and I want to speak on this real quick before we get into the actual question you asked. Like, the whole thing about Bama fans being upset about the way the portal is working against them right now, because it is working against them. But that doesn't mean this reminds me a lot of like last year when Saban would kind of speak about NIL and say, like, hey, like, you're going to need some guardrails on this and like to regulate this. There's no regulation. This is all very, very new. And the thing that sucks is the NCAA came out and threw out all of these changes at once and then took their ball and went home because they were upset about how they're not going to be as important anymore. They're still going to make over $919 million in a 3-week span during the college basketball tournament. That's a number from 2 years ago, which is, I'm sure, has only gone up. So they don't really need to be involved in football, and they never did a good job doing it anyway. That being said, I think that, like, it's not unfair. Because everyone, this would happen to anyone being in the situation. It is a massive, massive benefit, I think, to everyone except the team affecting. For right now, you can't. It's what is the word I'm looking for right now? It's an imbalance. That's the word I'm looking for. It is. Yes. It is a competitive imbalance in how it's affecting Bama versus affecting other teams. Because what you have here is you have the ability for Bama to go out and get players currently from a pool of anyone else that has a 30-day window open, which is Washington, Arizona, Buffalo, and South Alabama. Ironically enough, all college from Alabama. That's who Bama has the pool to choose from. The rest of the country is allowed to come in, and it's not tampering. It is recruiting, and they should be, because it's the most talent-rich roster or was in the country. So I'm not mad at anybody going to poach Bama's players, because they should. And Bama would do the same thing if it was reversed. I think it goes back to the thing where it's like, if Saban was saying this in the past about the NIL and the portal, all stuff being like, we need some guardrails, and everyone immediately would come out and be like, Saban doesn't want to see players played. And you hear Kirby say it, and you hear Lane say it. It's the same thing. It's just a different voice. I think it's probably more impactful the way you said it to Georgia fans. Now, after that 5-minute spiel I just went on my soapbox, the actual answer to your question, Caleb Downs, hands down, is the one that hurts the most, because there's few players that have come in even during the Bama era on that, and maybe Minka Fitzpatrick at that position, maybe Mark Barron, but Barron wasn't a superstar as a freshman, that have really had that kind of impact from day one. Because it's not just the talent, even. It's the fact that he's such a mature player on and off the field, the way he goes about his business. it's a perfect fit to go to Georgia. I'm going to say it hurts the most either way. It's going to hurt doubly as bad if he ends up in Athens, as most people think he will. The other ones to leave, the Isaiah Bond thing wasn't a huge deal to me because it felt like, the last video that he posted where he's getting fed grapes by the support staff in Texas, I was kind of okay with that. I would have left for a lot less at 20 years old. I'll say that.
Bro, that ain't no lie right there. That is.
He got a Lamborghini and was being fed grapes. I would have left for an OTP, HJ, and orange slices, bro. I mean, like in a heartbeat. There's your clip for the episode. No, but I think the other ones that have hurt, because there's like 27 of them that have left. Some of the other defensive backs that have left, it kind of, you're like Jake Pope is not a guy that I was super concerned with, but now when you had 17 total defensive backs, 12 of them entered the portal or went pro. Now you're looking at this thing and you're like, why did Jalen Key leave? Like, why is Jake Pope, and maybe that one makes more sense because he was so early on. Those all suck. The decommitments suck. And I keep saying, I said it to you earlier, man, if what they need more than anything is just a win. They just need a win to start making this thing feel better. And maybe that comes in the span of in the mold of like Ryan Williams ends up coming still in this class.
Yeah.
Which could happen. And that's the other thing too, real quick on is that's the part that doesn't make sense to me. Or why are offensive players, why is Amari Niblack leaving? Why are other receivers leaving that are here that would probably do really well in this system?
Yeah. If you look at Kalen DeBoer's system, I mean, Roma Duze is about to get paid for being in that system. Penix, before he just absolutely hated himself, was set to make very top 10 money. I don't know what the draft analysts say about him now after that performance, but he is going to get paid. So that is a little concerning to me as well. The Caleb Downs does probably hurt the most. What about Keon Keeley? No, nothing official yet with that, but there are rumblings going, Marler, right now. He is heavily considering following suit and getting into the portal as well. And if so, Georgia is the favorite to do. Caleb Downs is the answer, but yeah, I know. I just, as things come to us, this is all crazy.
Where is this coming from? I haven't seen this yet, but I've also none of it would be surprising. We got done recording the show that you came on with us, right? And I get on Twitter, and the first thing I see is, yeah, man, but Justice Hayes and Keon Keeley and Quinshaw or Rousseau, whatever. Yeah, he might be one. These are all 5-star. Here's the thing, too. This is after Will Anderson. The year after Will Anderson's class is the first year. So it's now been 4 total years. But going back to before this last recruiting cycle, there were 3 total. There were 3 total classes that ranked the edge rusher position as its own position, not weak side linebacker, not anything like that, like as its own position. In those 3 classes, there were 10 total 5-stars. 8 of them were in the SEC, 6 of them were at Alabama. And it's a massive deal to lose some of those guys. Losing Keon Keeley would be huge. The one that I fear the most is Jaheim Otis. That one would suck a lot as well. And that's another one that was on this list of people that are apparently going to leave. I don't know. I will say, I'm trying to spin this back so I don't jump off a ledge here. Though, if you ask me who was the one that I'm least upset about, Seth McLaughlin, or good riddance, man. Good riddance. You could have played center better. This cutout of a corgi out here on this ledge behind here, he probably could have had less snap issues than McLaughlin. But yeah, man, it is. Oof.
Bro, that man made a business call at halftime to somebody and said, "Get the ball rolling because I'm not making it out of this stadium on this team." That was real bad. That was real ugly.
Over half the snaps in that national or in that semifinal were off target.
That's bad. No, it's not bad. Third segment, loyal listeners, the 199. We're going to come back right after this. And this is, in fact, FanDuel. FanDuel.com/locked-on. Make every moment more. And right now, our listeners can go over there. FanDuel, official sportsbook of Locked On Podcasts and Locked On Bulldogs. We love it. Right now, I thought the line was at 2.5 points being laid. that Georgia was giving Alabama next year, but you can get a futures bet right now on a couple sites for 3.5, depending on where you're going to get it. If you can get it at 2.5, hammer, just lay it all. FanDuel.com/locked on. Make every moment more. If you make a $5 bet, doesn't matter if you win or lose, $5 bet, you get $150 in bonus bets. That's right. $5 bet gets you $150 in bonus bets right now at FanDuel.com/locked on. Make every moment more. I'm here with Marler over at Twitter. He's over on Saturday Down South, over on Vern Funquist on Twitter. Great follow, great interaction. We're asking about Alabama. We talked about the transfers. We talked about the coaching staff changes. And this is just, I think, for me, the most interesting thing, the most overreaction theater that people can say. And so I'll tell you what we said on this. The overreaction is that the downfall of Bama. Now, I'm here to tell you, the rabidness of the fan base, of the boosters, of the institution, and the money and the importance that Alabama has, it is not a downfall. It might be a step back, but you do not have that much success for that long with that many decades of excellence and all of a sudden become irrelevant in college football. But next year, I don't know if anybody knows what the heck to expect. So if you were setting futures right now on over-under win totals for next season, next year, yes, next year only, not talking, because again, speculation after that, like DeBoer's going to have to learn how to recruit down in the South. Like, okay, sure, let's say he gets that going. But what about next year? What would you handicap the over-under for win totals for Alabama next year?
I would say from Vegas, and I'll just say it from Vegas. They're going to set at 9. 8.5 is too low because it's Bama still. You look at the schedule, you get Georgia at home, which is probably going to be a loss. Shocking that number, the line is actually out. It's only 3.5. Shocking. Keon Keeley, it's just ruined my night. But the 3.5, I know the 3.5. Or I'm sorry, that game seems tough. The game at Tennessee, I think, is the one that is more than anything on the schedule that I feel like is a guaranteed loss, and that's not any discount to Georgia. And then you have games at Oklahoma, at LSU. You get Missouri at home. Like it is going to be tough for sure. I will tell you this. I think the thing about this Bama fan base, and it's the horrible truth that's come to light, is I always knew it was a terrible fan base in terms of being irrational and a-holes and entitled. I've always known that. But like, you know that phrase, like, you don't go to the grocery store when you're hungry. You don't go shopping when you're hungry. They hasn't had to go shopping when they've been hungry for 17 years. And you talk about, like, one of the things that when NIL first started, I was like, this is really going to help is these dormant blue bloods like USC, Tennessee, Texas, a little bit, Miami. And on the recruiting trail, it has helped them a ton. Maybe not in the win total for all those teams, but like it has helped on the recruiting trail a lot. Bama hasn't had to do that, and I don't think a lot of Bama fans, including myself, realized how big of a discount they were getting with Nick Saban during NIL stuff. So that's really tough to admit. I said it earlier tonight on our podcast. I was like, the thing I get accused of being biased all the time, as subjective as I think I am. I think that's the thing I was probably the most biased about, is that Saban being the brand, or Saban getting the most of the discount on the NIL. And I'll tell you this too, man, just as my present to you, if you talk about like what this looks like in a couple of years, the doomsday scenario, shut up, stop looking like that. The doomsday scenario on this is, if you want to compare somebody, everyone keeps trying to say it's Brian Harsin 2.0 or it's this person 2.0. The one that I think on a surface level, the way we're looking at this, if all of he doesn't recruit, he's a great X's and O's guy, sure, all those things become true. Dan Mullen went from Mississippi State to Florida, and he went to 3 straight New Year's Six Bowls in his first 3 seasons. He went 21-5 his first 2 years at Florida. It was phenomenal. 2 of those losses, of course, were to Georgia. The other 3, I think in 2019, it was LSU who won the national championship, and I don't remember the other 2, but like 21-5 in his first 2 years and a New Year's Six Bowl in both of them. on the biggest stage he'd ever been as a coach. That program is in absolute shambles right now because he didn't recruit. So if DeBoer is able to come in and do all the things I think he'll be able to do, X's and O's on the field, I would love 21-5. Would probably get you a pretty good chance to get into the playoff with an expanded field. But if he goes 21-5 and recruits like Dan Mullen, this program is screwed.
Yeah. That's, it is really funny because it's really, really easy just to hate on Dan Mullen because he was such a goober and he couldn't recruit. The man was able to execute X's and O's, like get on a board and do it. Kalen DeBoer does not seem like a goober at all to me, which is that he's got going in his favor. And yeah, if he can get just, top, this is going to sound weird again, like you said, you haven't been grocery shopping, you're eating. That's a great analogy for it. If you can get top 5 recruiting classes, because that's what Dan Mullen couldn't do. He was coming in 13, 14, if you can get top 5 at Bama with the facilities, with the boosters, with the influx of passion, and you can do X's and O's because he's proven that he doesn't have to have upper crust talent to succeed. Now this is the SEC and you can talk about that, but still, I mean, Georgia fans, listen, we talk all the time, like Jordan Davis was a 3-star, like Kirby Smart developed a 3-star kid into okay, great. Let's say Kalen DeBoer is able to do that. He's a great talent evaluator. And if all of these recruiting service guys hit on everything they did, they would be on university staff. These coaches don't listen to those idiots.
Not all of them, no.
No, I mean, it's just ridiculous to do. So I think that's very good insight. Marler, where can the people find you? Where can they hang out with you?
I don't even want them to this week. I'd like them to give me a break. It's been very tough. It is Saturday Football Uncensored is the podcast. We have a new episode every Sunday and Wednesday. We've been going live a bunch. We had you on our latest one. So if you guys are a big fan of Clint and not Daniel, just like me, just kidding, Daniel. Then make sure you listen to that episode. And then it's Vern Funquist on Instagram and Twitter. And I will tell you this right now, for those of you that don't follow me, because I know there's a bunch of you that either turned off this episode as soon as he announced that I was the guest or got upset with it. It says in the bio, fun and moderation. I'm at least aware of that. So listen, you'll enjoy it for maybe 20 to 40 minutes. And then a lot like an OTBHJ, and then it'll start to burn and you'll hate it. So there you
go. It'll burn. It's like Taco Bell after you're 35. That stuff's fun for 3 seconds, and then you hate your life. All of those of us over 35 got that. He is Chris Marler. I'm Clint Shamlin. This is Locked On Bulldogs, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We'll see y'all next time. Be well.